And when I went to New York, I realized, I mean, everybody in New York is so real. New York is a tripped out city because, I mean, it's like you'll see everything in one block.
Yeah.
You'll see the gamut of human experience in one block. You'll see like homeless, someone without legs, you know, just horrible tragedies. And then you'll see like two people kissing that are in love, and then two people fighting, and you know, you'll see everything. It's just, it's a trip.
It's to a lesser scale here, but it's, I mean, like a smaller version of that here, because I'm from Virginia Beach, which is a pretty, I guess, tame area, if you want to call it that, you know. And so it's been kind of an eye-opener to see a lot more people who are disabled in some way, and, you know, and the homeless people and a lot of people.
I mean, when I went to New York after being in Hollywood, where everything was picture perfect, and then seeing realism, you know what I mean? It's like, finally, you know, it's real here. And I mean, every city has its pros and cons, but and I'm really sick of New York right now. But Hollywood is a unique city in itself, and yeah, it blew my mind. It was a really tripped out experience. I mean, and plus, it's like beautiful weather every day, every day. Every day. You can plan a party outside and you know that you're going to have good weather. And
it's like the opposite extreme.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird. It's like this like
floating
you know, it's really strange. But the cool thing is like with this CD, you know, I worked with R.J. Rice, who's my producer. He's great, brilliant producer. And it's funny because, you know, the experience of living in the woods, the experience of living in the city, and then the whack-out experience of Hollywood, it's like kind of mirrors, in a sense, other parts of my life in a way, because like this album is very eclectic, you know, and RJ, it's hard to find somebody that you can click with like that, you know, the way that we clicked on this record. And RJ was able to bring these different styles together and marry them together into one piece of work that makes sense, you know, and that's something that I was really looking for, because I love different kinds of music. It has to be from the heart, no matter what kind of music it is. But I'm not just like this, you know,
pigeonholing,
in this box. And so finding someone that could like marry these little aspects of all these different places together, and then do it in a way where it's a fresh sound. Because that was the other thing. It's like, oh, I've heard this before. You know?
Well, because like for me, you know, all of your albums have that mesh of sounds, but with this one, I'd imagine must have been really different putting it together, because, you know, whereas on Fountains Free you worked with a whole bunch of producers, and on this one just working with primarily R.J. Rice.
One
that must have
totally
really,
one person. And that was the other thing, is like I set out to do that too. It was like, I'm not going to let anybody produce on this record. This is going to be, especially when I saw what kind of flow we had, because we just had a flow from the beginning. The first song we wrote together was Wake Before I Die. The second song was I and I. And the cool thing about RJ is he's got like this environment in his studio that's so creative. I mean, you know, he was producing another artist by the name of Damon, who's on...
Does a duet with you.
Right. And that was the first duet that I ever did in my life. And that came about because, you know, he's producing Damon's record, and Damon, P.S., has a song coming out called Ooh La La right now, just so that you know. Cool. But he and like Damon's walking around in the studio, and one day we're like, come on in and do backups to Making Love to the Air. So he comes in and does it, and he uses this whole other part of his voice that he didn't use on his record, and it's like, wow, our voices mesh, we should do a duet. So we go write this song together, and you know, he's a great songwriter, and it's just like all this creativity coming about because there's so many creative people walking around. Like there's Ronnie, he's putting beats together, and he's, you know, writing songs, and Carl B. There's another guy named JD. A lot of initials here, but
I co-produced. I saw them on the
and JD's got a group now called Slum Village that RJ is producing. I mean, and it was just kind of like being at summer camp with all this talent, you know, like real talent, and then being able to capitalize off of all of it, and just like, wow, you know, just being in this creative environment. So it was cool. Yeah, very cool.
Let me ask you about, because since, you know, you mesh a lot of styles, and that's, you know, fairly unusual. How do you get around, you know, working with A&R people and stuff like that? Is that a test? I mean, is a lot of... I mean, yeah, I mean, did you feel like a lot of pressure with this album or any of your other albums?
Okay, on my first record, I didn't know what I was doing, but people thought that I did. So they gave me freedom. Okay, but I didn't know what I was doing.
You just had
I knew that I loved to sing. That was really it. And Love Was Contagious was the first song I ever wrote. I got lucky. You know, I mean, that song was the one song that became a hit, you know. And I was like, this song should be the first single. They were like flipping out. Because normally they would say, no, it has to be a Prince song. You can't put your song out as the first single. Are you nuts? I was like, no, it has to be Love Is Contagious, you know. Cool. But they listened to me and they really gave me freedom, which was cool. Yeah. Because I always, I mean, even Prince, I was the first artist that he gave freedom to. You know, it was like, he knew this girl is not going to go for, you know, do this, do that. Yeah. It was like, and he knew it. He knew it. It was... I mean, he knew that. And he told me that. He said, I know you're not going to go for that, are you? And I said, nope. So, you know, I mean, they gave me freedom. I didn't know what I was doing, but at least I had the freedom to make mistakes and also have my own triumphs, you know. Unfortunately, there was more mistakes at that point than triumphs. But actually, I don't even believe in the concept of a mistake. I don't believe anything is a mistake.
Just because it's
I believe everything is always a win. Yeah. Even if it didn't work out the way you planned, there's always something you can grab and run, you know, and learn, you know. So I don't believe in mistakes. But, well, I shouldn't say I don't believe in mistakes, because I guess you can't make some mistakes.
But you don't believe they're bad.
But I mean, yeah, you know how people trip out and they go, and then they let that stop them, you know what I mean? And to me it's like, okay, pull the positives and run and keep going, you know, because that's half the battle. But with this record, they gave me freedom, and they did not get in our way. And I think they could sense that something was going on. Because when I handed in the record, usually they'll be like, oh, we'll change this or do that. Yeah. Not a word. Wow. I handed in that record and they were just like, whoa.
Well, that's really,
you know, yeah, so it was so cool. And they left us alone, you know, and I was really thankful. They were really cool. You know, they knew, okay, well, we signed her for this reason, and you know, we believe that, you know, she's capable of doing her job, and that's the way it should be, because guess what? That's my job. My job is to record, write songs, and sing. Your job is to get my record on the radio. So do it.
To get, I guess, a little bit more on the business side, when you're talking about, you know, their job is to promote it, do you feel like you've had a hard time, like the record companies have done a good job promoting you or not? Or?
I think right now I'm really happy with what's happening. Like this beginning of the year, we've been setting up this single, A Lot Like You, and we've done a lot of things that we didn't do for I&I. I understand what happened with I&I. You know, we put it out at a tough time. Yeah. There were a lot of things happening in the company. There were a lot of things going on with other artists. You know, I understand logically what happened. I feel like we're really now just putting this record out, you know what I mean? And because I've been traveling, I've been overseas, I've been all around the country now. We're doing shows, got the band together, et cetera, et cetera. Hold on 1 second. You want to pause that? Yeah. Hello? She knows now. Sorry about that.
No, it's
but yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, we're just, I really feel good with what's happening now. And like, this band is so cool. My band is so cool. I love my band. I mean, they rock, and we have a good time on stage.